Something a little bit different today, folks. Not really a customer complaint. I actually legally own this car now. It's actually beautiful car. It even sounds good. All right, even sounds good. Even came with a full tank of gas, if you haven't noticed. So, what? Let me give you a perspective here. What led me to buy this thing for $1,600? Well, it's let's just put it this way. The guy, he said it started to overheat, right? Puked out all the coolant. Took it to a shop. Shop said the motor is absolute garbage. Needs a whole new engine, right? Why is that? Well, let me show you. That, my friends, is coolant. So it puked coolant. Why is that? Ford and Lincoln. Lincoln's the fancy Ford, right? They have an internal water pump. So what I believe happened was that water pump has failed and puked all its coolant inside with the engine oil, because it's not like your typical like a Subaru. Go for it, right? Subaru, the water pump's external, but it's based off the timing belt. This is all totally internal, so it's in with the engine oil and all that other garbage. So we know the oil's chocolate milk, so we got one of two things: head gaskets or the water pump. We're gonna go right for the water pump on this. Swap it out, put a new one in. No other real diagnosing, because we know the oil is garbage in this thing right now. So even if the head gaskets are bad, I do want to run fresh oil in it to see what happens. And so I think this is going to be a good video. Between book time on this is a 14-hour job to get to that water pump. It's not a Toyota, or Subaru, or like any normal car. Like, I don't know what Ford was thinking, or Lincoln. You're going to hear me say Ford a lot, because guess what? Even on the VIN, you can see it. It's all stamped Ford. It's a Ford. So we're going to go right for the water pump. I'm hoping to see shaft play. This car only has 120,000 miles on it. So my thing is, the water pump either has shaft play or the seal. It should have a double seal from what I researched. One of those two things have failed, and it's puking the coolant. If that doesn't fix it, we'll probably tear this motor out, put it on the stand, and totally redo the head gaskets and see if that goes. If not, well, for the price I paid for and for the price of a replacement engine, I'm still ahead of the game. So I'm not really too worried about it. This is going to be just a fun little science experiment. Will a replacement water pump and a few cheap oil flushes get this thing not only running back to normal, but will it stay running and keep on chugging down the road. There's absolutely nothing else wrong. There's absolutely no shake with it. Nothing. This thing runs like a top. So it was too good to pass up. Even if it needs an engine, I'm not too concerned about it. But I'll try a new factory OEM people, water pump. Don't go cheap. Go OEM. And see what happens with this thing. So, to start off this video of where we're at, because this thing is massive, dude. I mean, this thing compared to my Mercedes, it makes my Mercedes look like a little toy car. So this thing it's a full-size luxury sedan. I mean, it has everything. You know, double moonroofs, this, that. You know, brand new tires, brakes, this, that. The guy put some money into it, but the shop told him the engine's toast. And that's the main thing of what this video is going to be about. When a shop says, oh, engine's garbage, is it really garbage? So, with that said, we're going to jack it up. We're going to remove the passenger tire. And obviously this cover. And we're going to start getting in here because I believe we have to remove the valve covers to be able to remove the timing cover to access, obviously to get to the water pump. So that's what we're going to do. The only special tool we're really going to need, as far as I know, is for the valves, the camshafts. To be able to hold the camshafts into place as we remove the timing chains, tensioners, yada yada. So this should be a fun video. I'm going to continue it once I get the car up on the jack stands, cover removed, which, like I said, is just cheap plastic. Got to remove that. That all comes up. Tire will come out. Fender, to get access to the crankshaft. That's our main thing. And obviously probably blow the leaves off so that way nothing falls in. So stay tuned. This is going to be a good one. Alright, so an update. I know it looks like there's a lot that has been done. Trust me, there really hasn't. We removed the airbox and the few bolts for the intake plenum. And the whole thing came out as one unit. I mean, super easy, quick. And that was that. This engine mount was an absolute nightmare to pull out. Even following the all data way, which was pulling this reservoir bottle out. I mean, it was just, for me, it was a nightmare to get out from there. It did not want to play nice. You got 3 big bolts. They're all Loctited in. Then you had 4 nuts. This one only had 3, so somebody's already been in there before. Nut there, and then a bolt on the other side for that little metal bracket right there. So now with that done, oh yeah, we also removed the belt. That was super easy. A 3/8 ratchet right there in that square hole. Pull it forward, and that came out. I ran into a little hiccup, which is why I had to pull the motor mount anyway. But our puller that we rented, it just wouldn't fit. Mainly because the frame. So now with the motor mount removed, we obviously got a jack on the oil pan, so we will have full control of raising and lowering it. Now we should have enough clearance to pull that pulley As you're gonna notice, I still have one belt on there. And that belt is a stretch fit. So I'm hoping if I just pull the pulley off, it's all gonna come off, and then I'll worry later on about how to get that guy back on. So that's gonna be the next step, is we're gonna lower the engine. We're gonna try and get that puller on there and do it. I'm saving it for tomorrow because I have to go to work. So it is what it is. And once we get that off, we can start pulling the valve covers. Oh, actually, I think we have to do the alternator and the tensioner. I'll have to get a really good look down there and see if we have to do that, because they're also buried. So, I don't know. I'll be reading the all data stuff and then determine what I gotta do. So that's where we're at. And like I said, intake plenum was the easiest thing so far. Super easy. Well, I'm glad I didn't record the first 2 hours of playing around with this rental puller and trying to get this flywheel, harmonic balancer off. So, after several different trial and errors, this is the best that I can do. We have a 10 millimeter 1/4 inch socket that fits beautifully into the crankshaft hole, you know, right on top of the threads, which gives this thing something to sit on so it doesn't walk. You can't use the crankshaft bolt. I've tried. It doesn't work. Second off, this puller, trying to fit it where it's supposed to go, does not fit for me. I tried it all different ways. I even tried removing these metal guys to make it a little bit smaller. So in the end, I'm like, well, I really have nothing to lose except the harmonic balancer. So I have them. As you can see, they're on the outside ridge. That's the best way I can do it. I frown upon doing it this way because this rubber, you're putting a lot of stress on that rubber, and that can destroy it. So we're gonna heat it up, try to expand it a little bit. And then we're gonna start cranking on it. And this is either gonna tell you you can't do it this way, or as a last ditch effort, you can do it this way. So heating up this balancer is going to expand it a little bit on the crankshaft, make it a little less stressful for that outside rubber on the damper. If this comes off, then the only other thing we got to do is the power steering pump, which is over there. And then the rocker covers, there's a tensioner for the belt that has to come off. And then I believe at that point the timing cover can come off. That's just based off of all data. I did not see anything for the alternator having to be removed or put out of the way. So I'm gonna see what happens here. Let's crank away here. I'm gonna get myself a little bit of extra light and see if we're actually moving. And my my impact died. So we're doing this really the old-fashioned way. I'm stuck on something. I ran out of threads. I hope the camera's picking that up. We bottomed out, but we are moving. So I'm going to spend another probably half hour trying to space this out. I'll probably put a bigger socket in because if you see in there, we can put a socket on the outside. It doesn't have to go inside. So we're going to reconfigure this and it's going to pop off. All right. All right, well, here's round two. I'm not going to add any heat this time because I'm pretty far off. You know, obviously we got that bigger socket in there now. We're just going to go for it. And hopefully, hopefully get her off. Is that it? My socket's rolling away. There we go. With the stretch fit belt. So that's one way to do it. Like I said, we will replace that seal before we put it back together, just in case it got superheated and screwed up. We won't know, so it's just easier to replace it when we put it back together. So next up, based off all data, I'm gonna have to get this guy's gonna have to come out. Wait, is it him? Yeah, I think it's him. Yeah, power steering pump. And then eventually all 22 wonderful bolts once we get the other tensioner off. But we have to get him off. I know on all data, I hope I'm not getting too much stuff around. Yeah, there we go. So I believe on all data it was like 3 or 4 bolts. I'll confirm it. And we'll get that power steering pulley pump just out of the way. You don't have to disconnect the lines or anything like that. You just gotta get her out of the way. So that's the next step. All right, guys, just a heads up. You got 2 bolts down here. One's a 13. That bottom right's a 13. The other one is a 10. The top one that you can't even see, you have to feel for it, is also a 10. And we got a wobbly on it. And this is how I'm doing it. After this, there's one more. It's just a hold down bolt. I believe that's an 8 for the line. And this power steering pump will pop out of the way. Alright, working on this front valve cover here. It's 11 bolts. I believe that's the doll data said. The rear is 10, front's 11. Hopefully dipstick tube. You're doing this job yourself. Oh, I forgot about that. So, zoom in here. As you can see, it's just nothing scoring. It's just a milkshake. So they literally stopped driving this just in time to stop any crazy engine wear. There's no real scores on the lobes. That's good. What we're gonna do in the meantime, bear with me. I'm gonna take some engine oil, fresh engine oil, just because we know that this is all condensate. Try not to get down the spark plug tube, but I know I'm getting on the harness and all that crap, but I'm just trying to protect the surfaces. I got someone down that spark plug tube. Son of a bitch. But I just wanted to protect, fresh oil. Keep the moisture away. Besides, now that one I gotta clean that one out. Everything else is good though. So we're gonna start working on the back. Get that back one off, and then that timing cover should come off. Hopefully through the bottom to make life a little easier. I'm not sure yet. We'll cross that bridge when we get there. So we're getting there, folks. All right, boys and girls, we're getting back at it. I'm gonna grab our paint marker here. Gonna mark for the timing chain. Straight down with that. On this side, you're not really going to see it because of all the hoses in the way. But we got that going on. Down below, we got our timing mark right there. So next stop on all data is to remove, I forget what they call this thing, 3 bolts aside. So we gotta remove those. Oh boy. There's 3 bolts holding that guy in. There's like one there, one there, one there. 3 bolts per side. Remove that. Now we can undo timing chain itself. We also have our cam lockdowns in. So they're just sitting up there chilling. So we're gonna do that, and then we're gonna get our water pump off. That's pretty much what it comes down to. This water pump is right there. That's it. That's our problem child, 100% diagnosed. Too much slop. So we're gonna get to her. Alright guys, one mental note I want to make before reinstalling the water pump. Make sure all your gasket surfaces are clean. I did most of this from the bottom, and you know, that's what you want, because they want to do the job twice. So just make sure you take the time. I took about 40 minutes because there's a lot of surface area to deal with. You can see there's a little bit of black crud, but that will come off with the fingernail. You just want to make sure everything is as clean as can be. Alright? The more you clean it now, the less you'll be dealing with later. You don't want to call back for an oil leak. Alright? Alright guys, I know this is going to kind of be a shitty video capture of getting the water pump bolted back in, but the best I can do, we're going to do it. We're going to get her all sucked up. So, after this is just go through all of them around, make sure they're all tight, and that's that. I'm going to start number one again. I don't know how much of that got captured on video. Obviously, you can see a lot more going down below. Where down below it was, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All right. Brand new water pump installed, nice and tight. Just got to stung them up with a 1/4-inch ratchet. Doesn't take much to get them snug. You don't need a torque wrench. Just use your experience. So next up, I gotta research it on all data. It's either gonna be timing chain or your variable cam valves. So I'm gonna research it. I believe the chain goes on and then your valves go on, but I'm gonna double check. All right, guys, this timing chain went on beautifully. Tensioner is tensioning. We got our left oil control solenoid on. We're about to do the right. Based off of all data, these are special. They're not O-rings. They're like a split style, almost like a piston ring. So they are reusable. You don't have to change them. If everything looks good, you just slap her back in. You got 2 dowels. 1, 2, all right? And the way the book says it, you tighten these 2 first, and then you tighten that one. So that guy goes in there, and pretty much you know it's in because the dowels will seat it, and that's that. So we're going to tighten that up, and then we're going to re-verify all our timing stuff. We're going to turn the motor over by hand a couple times to make sure the valves are not kissing anything. Oh, where's that keyway mark? There you go. So you can see that. That's where that's supposed to be. Got a dot over there. So the way it came off, nothing has shifted or moved, so we should be good with our timing. But you always turn it by hand a couple times. Make sure that there's no interference going on. So we're going to tighten him up, do the check, and then I believe it's time to re-clean the surface one more time and get our timing cover back on. All right, guys, well, we got this whole surface cleaned up, and we got the engine side cleaned up. So what we're going to do, I'm going to put our ultra black on the engine side because this side's going to make a lot of contact trying to wiggle it in there. So we're going to put it on the engine side. Some critical key notes to know. It's got to go all the way around. You got to get these 3 guys in this top center part here. They're saying go almost a 1/4 inch thick in these areas, but just because it's thicker doesn't make it better. A lot of people don't understand that. So we're gonna do a nice bead all around and wiggle that plate in the same way we took it out. So I'm just gonna move that out of the way. And she should go in pretty nicely. It came out decent. So like I said, the only thing we tweaked was this AC line to move it out of the way a little bit. And other than that, like I said, we are clean. There's nothing in the oil pan. You want to verify that there's nothing that fell in the oil pan. And we're ready to do that. So like I said, keynotes all around, these three and this top. So 1, 2, 3 on the engine side at least, all around and around. So we're gonna go for it. There's 2 locating dowels. You'll see them. One is right there, and the other one is it's up there. Trust me on it. So that's gonna help us get everything in place. I looked at the crank seal. It's in good shape, so I'm not gonna change it in this case. Hopefully that doesn't bite me in the ass later, but for now, I'm not too worried about it. We could probably remove it without removing everything else in the future, because once the crank pulley comes off, it's buried somewhere in there. You do have a gap where you can pull it if you need to, but for right now, I'm not worried about it. It looks really good, clean. There was no wetness from that, so generally they don't fail. So we're gonna go for it. Hopefully next up you'll see that on. We're waiting on our rocker gaskets. They're coming. Same with the intake plenum. Yeah, they're silicone, but the 120,000 miles. Might as well change it. Those are common to leak on any kind of V6 vehicle. And that's where we're at. Alright guys, the valve cover is loosely mounted on. We're waiting that 1 hour cure time before we fully tighten her up. That included this motor mount guy. He's part of the torque sequencing. That big black hunk of steel. So we got him in there. Calling for 18 foot-pounds. I don't know if you guys want to take a screenshot of that, because there's 25 total bolts I see that have to get torqued down. Actually 23, 24, 25 get torqued to 55 foot-pounds. Those are those center ones for that big hunk of steel. So you want to keep that in mind. So I'm holding it here so you guys can take a screenshot. And in about 20 minutes I'm gonna start that torque sequence, and that'll be that. And after that we're in the home stretch now. So that'll be cool. Once the gaskets come for the rockers and the plenum, everything can be done. And of course, fresh oil. Bleed the coolant system. I'm sure there's a procedure for it. And that'll be that. Alright guys, got the power steering pump put back on. I just slid this guy on. Heat her up. You don't need the fancy push on tool to get her in. Just heat her up so, you know, we had the outside greased up. Once it showed a little bit of smoke, threw it right on. Just threw it right on. It just slid in. No extra help needed. Not too concerned about the crank seal, because They can hold a pretty good temperature, so we'll see if we're right or wrong. If so, we'll do a follow-up video, but I mean, she slid right on initially, so now I gotta find, oh, there it is, the bolt, and that should go in nice. And we'll get her tightened down. So that's really my only tip and trick for that. That's really it. I mean, after that, we're gonna get the belt on, we're gonna get the motor mount on, and then we gotta wait for parts. So that's where we're at. So just a quick tip, as you remember, that pulley is a stretch fit belt. What I did was I put some zip ties on it, so it's in there. And all we're doing is we're rotating the crank clockwise, and the belt is working itself back on. So you don't need any sort of special tools besides a couple little zip ties. If you have the bigger ones, awesome. But I'm working with what I have here, folks, and it's coming back on. So there's my quick tip for that. This face, the sign of no good. That one worries me the most. I think we're off a tooth on timing, but this dead miss on cylinder 2, 352, the last number, 2. That one I'm gonna tackle first because let me shut off my poverty heat. It fired up, but you'll hear it in a second here, folks. I'll be damned if that actually went away. Let's do a refresh here. Nope. Try and clear the faults. It's not running right though. For whatever reason though, our number 2, before, folks, believe me on it, it was a dead miss. Straight up dead miss. Bring my scanner with me. I already have everything set up, but I believe, unfortunately, I am off a tooth on timing. And that's why things are the way they are. I don't know why. Before it was a straight up dead miss. I'll keep trying to refresh it here. Our ABS is probably going off because we don't have a wheel on that side, so it's kind of turning a little bit. Not too worried about that. Refreshing the codes. All right. So I don't know why before it was a dead miss on cylinder 2, which is the bank, well, sitting in the car. It's closest to us. It's behind the intake plenum. But P0016, we're going to have to pull that time cover off again because everything's hooked up. and it's not happy about that timing position. And we know for a fact, prior to this repair, we didn't have that. Again, bank one, right, is the rear. We'll pull that. We'll pull that just to verify. Alright, so now we have actually a different code. I'm not worried about the bottom one. So, what does that mean? As I can tell, it's not running the way a Lincoln should run. It's shuddering, sputtering. Well, I mean, I know it's a Ford, but before it wasn't doing that. That's why I believe again, that P0016 oh man. But before there was a dead miss, you could hear it. Now I don't know why that went away. She's in limp mode. I'm sure if I do key off. Yeah, we're in limp mode. It really sucks. I'll read more about it, but I have a feeling I'm gonna have to pull that timing cover off. Just turn it back a tooth. I don't know why. These ain't, from what I saw in data and from what I see in real life, they're not super what do you want to call it? Specific. There's not a lot of lines or dots or this or that to go off of. What sucks is I'm gonna have to get another puller to get that harmonic balancer off. Unless I'm missing like where the crankshaft position sensor might be, but I don't think it's on this side. I'm pretty positive it's on the other side. So unless I missed a connection somewhere, I'm gonna re-verify that just to make sure that it's not anything on my end with, well, obviously it's on my end because it didn't run like this before. So I got to do some research on all data. I don't know why now we're not having that dead miss on cylinder 2 in the back, and that's cylinder 1 right there, but I reached way back there and it was a dead miss. I'm trying to wiggle it now. Now it's all hunky-dory. But believe me when I said there was a straight up dead misfire. on that cylinder. So I'm gonna have to see, I'm gonna have to read a little bit. If I find anything, I'll let you know. Because it shouldn't be running like that. Where it's like surging. It's really weird. Alright, so we got everything temporarily hooked back up. I don't know why we have misfire counts when the car is off right now. That's kind of weird. But we have our camshaft position status and our CMP, and are they synced? And that's going to be the big one. And I'm not really too concerned about misfires because with the valve covers being so far off, I don't think this thing is running like garbage, but let's see what happens. We're going to fire it up. Sorry guys, I'm trying to start it. What the hell? Are we too low on battery power? Because that's garbage. Number of misfires, garbage. Now we got a crank no start here. It's trying, but it's not. Oh man, this really sucks. Supposedly we're at 0 volts. Now we're at 65 volts and back to 0. Man. Alright, because I really want to confirm this synchronized stuff up here. It's not going to let me right now. So we're going to have to hook up the tender to it and let it charge up a little bit, I guess. Because this is what we got going on. We don't even have these valve covers bolted in. We don't even have the engine in. The only thing we really have is the plenum bolted up. Other than that, you can see everything else. I want to 100% verify, and I may have already tried it before. You can see we have an oil spill going on. But I want to 100% verify that we don't have a P0016 anymore. So the only way to do that is to get it running again, but in order to get it running is to charge up the battery. Or, yeah, we have a jumper in the house. Might hook the jumper up, see if we can just jump start it. Like I said, I smell a lot of raw fuel, but again, these, I mean, how much contact are these really making with the spark plug? That hurt. Especially on the back side. I mean, you can see everything's just, it's wide open. So I don't know how much spark we're actually making, so that's probably why we have so many misfires right now. Is that, but I want to verify before I put another tube of sealant on there, just to have the same correlation code. I don't want that, because Dan will be upset. So this is the dilemma, guys. Putting the chain back on. got that orange mark perfectly lined up with the dot. We are a tooth off here. So what I want to do, because no matter how hard I pull up, we're not getting on there. Have a little bit of slack there and a little bit of slack there. I want to remove this cam tool. And we're going to get on this with a wrench. We're going to rotate it slightly backwards. So we are perfect on there. And then we're going to rotate it back forward, take up all the slack. And with a little luck, our crankshaft way down there will also be lined up to get everything together. That's the plan. Let's see if it works. All right, guys. That worked a little better than it should have. Again, we never removed the cam lock on this side. We're still on that dot. This side, 22mm wrench. We moved her back and then got her on and then moved her back forward. And the tool fits beautifully. We're still on our water pump. And down there, our crank, it fit absolutely beautifully on with that dot. You see the white mark? Fit perfect. Don't mind the slack there because we got to put our tensioner back on. But now there is no doubt in my mind that this thing shouldn't be in time. So we're gonna clean everything, put our magical ultra black on, put everything back together, and hopefully be cruising around. So stay tuned. All right, guys, this is where we're at. Got everything decently back on. We don't have any accessories on because we just want to test it. So can't run it for too long. Like I said, we don't even have the reservoir on. This is just for testing purposes. Make sure our codes are gone, and then we'll put it back together. Mine's a little bit dirty. Here we go. She's cold, but probably still learning an idle. Yeah, it's gonna bitch about the battery because, well, we ain't charging that right now. What kind of codes we got? So that ain't bad. We know we don't have our alternator hooked up, and since we just did everything, that's normal. We don't have our P0016. I'm pretty happy with that. The surging and stuff, I think it's just because the alternator not being there. So with that, we're gonna get everything back fully together. See how she does. So, looking forward to it. Alive! That was fun. There's a couple little things I gotta button up, but no piston oil, no nothing. Awesome. There's a $2,000 repair.